So when I thought about doing a talk on silence, I thought I could just spend 10 minutes just... But that'd be really awkward, wouldn't it? So I won't. Instead, I'll speak for you so that there'll be no awkward silences, at least not many. So, question for you. Who was your superhero growing up? Did you ever want to be a superhero yourself? Perhaps it was Superman, who had supernatural powers and could fly and do things. He had an amazing superhuman strength. Maybe it was Spider-Man, for those that like the agility, who had webs that came out of his hands and could swing from building to building. I'm scared of heights, so I was always really freaked out by Spider-Man. But he never seemed to fall, or at least he never seemed to hurt himself too much. Or perhaps you were attracted to more of the intellectual superhero. Batman is said to be the most intellectual of all superheroes and didn't really have or possess any superhuman abilities, albeit he was quite smart. For me, my superhero was this guy. Who knows who this is? Astro Boy! I loved Astro Boy. I used to watch him every morning before school, often missed the bus to go to school because of it. And I loved his boots. He had jets that came out of the bottom of his boots, and I always thought, gosh, if I had them, I'd be able to watch more of this show and get to the bus stop on time. Now, all I'm looking for in a superhero is someone who can go gadget arm and get me more wine when my glass is empty on a Friday night. So the question is, what is it that attracts us to superheroes? Or what is it that makes us inspired, feels us compelled to be a superhero ourselves? It could be the awkwardly tight lycra, or it could even be their superpowers. But I'm willing to bet that if you're like me, you wanted to become a superhero because of what superheroes stood for. I'm sure there's not many people in the room who had admiration or desires to be the villain, albeit there was something dark and mysterious about them. But most people wanted to be the superhero. They wanted to make the difference in the world, because that's what superheroes do. They make a difference in the world. But here's the thing. Each and every one of you sitting here today has a superpower. That superpower is silence. So why don't we use this superpower? Maybe we don't understand the benefit of silence. Maybe we're too busy to listen to others. Maybe we don't have time. Maybe we know what the other person is going to say. Maybe we feel like they blabber on too much, or that they won't get to the point quickly enough. And we don't slow down enough to actually really fully experience our superpower of silence. But I'm going to share 3 areas with you where you can absolutely use silence as your superpower. Those areas are listen, learn, and lead. So listen. It goes without saying we need to be silent to listen. That's a no-brainer, right? It's interesting though that silence, when we're listening, is not just silence externally, but also quietening the mind internally. So when someone is having a conversation with us, it is up to us and using silence as our superpower to sit there and be fully present with them. How many of you have had a tough day at work and come home to your significant other and just wanted to vent, just wanted to download on your day? And so you get home and you're like, honey, I have had a really tough day. And they say, you know, what happened? Do you want to talk about it? Yes. And so you start talking about it. And instead of them being silent and just listening and nodding and being there for you and being fully present, they attempt to save you in some way. They add commentary to what must have happened. They engage. They say, oh, that's terrible. You should quit your job. Or they give you advice. Do you know what? This is what I think you should do. Or perhaps you were doing this and they thought that. And I'm not saying that I haven't done this. In fact, my husband up there would probably confess that I am one of the people who still needs to express silence as my superpower. And I'm working on it. But we need silence. We need silence to listen to other people, and we need silence to feel heard. And we all want to feel heard. The second is silence, using silence to learn. So learning is a process, and the best learning comes with silence. If it's really basic and easy content, like 2 + 2, you probably don't need silence to work that out. But equally, you're probably not learning in the process. And so if I were to ask you, what is 47 multiplied by 17? And then I continued to talk, would you be able to work that equation out in your head? How many of you would immediately want to go to your phones or get a calculator and have that work that out for you? So when we want to solve complex problems, we need silence. When we want to get in the zone, has anyone heard of the concept of hyperfocus? You know, when you're in the zone and there's nothing around you that can distract you, and you're working efficiently and you're coming up with ideas and you're really, becoming really efficient. Silence is a big component of that. A lot of us need silence to get into that flow state, to get into the area of focus and be able to fully commit. So using silence to learn is one in silence as well. And the final component is using silence as your superpower to lead. So over a series of breakfast dates, I don't tend to do dinner dates, I'm more of a morning person, or a lark, I think one of the earlier speakers today referred to morning people as. I asked the question, when you think of a great leader, who comes to mind? And I didn't influence the responses at all. I was just gathering information. I was curious about who people thought of when they thought of a great leader. And some of the people that came up were Oprah Winfrey. I'm sure you all know her. Then there was Leo Messi, who is said to be one of the greatest football or soccer players of all time. There was Jon Snow, for those who are into Game of Thrones. There's Leah Percy, who was a netballer as well as a footballer, so a really great female athlete. There was this guy, Steve Irwin, crikey dingo, and Ellen DeGeneres. And when I asked them, what is it that makes these leaders so great? I heard things about what they did. So some of the actions that they had taken to make the world a better place, to inspire people, to influence people, to bring people on the journey. And I challenge that the one thing that all great leaders possess is the ability to hold the silence. The ability to hold the silence when they're listening, the ability to hold the silence when they're learning. And I think of Steve Irwin. Who's a watcher of Steve Irwin in his former day, where he'd go up to him and he'd be learning about the animal as he was observing and being quiet. And a lot of the movie, or a lot of the film that he produced, was him actually being quiet and demonstrating. So he didn't need to say too much, but he needed to be there. And it's the same with any great leader. Any great leader has to make good decisions, and good decisions don't come automatically. Sometimes they do. Most of the time, they take thought, they take preparation, and they take a whole lot of silence. And so I want to leave you with this. The next time you have the opportunity to listen to someone else, I would ask you to express silence. And if you struggle with being silent when you're listening to others, count to 5. Start with 5 seconds of silence, and then move on from there. Use silence to learn, and most importantly, in any area of your life, use silence to lead and make the right decision.